Am I the a-hole for telling my brother-in-law to F off after he called my son a girl for being in therapy? My 15-year-old son has been in therapy for the past few months after his best friend died. It was very hard for him, and while I've always been there to help him, my wife and I felt that having a therapist would be best. He seems to be making a lot of progress, so I know it's working. Unfortunately, my brother-in-law is a men shouldn't express emotions kind of guy. I've always thought that was BS, so I made sure my wife and I were on the same page about not letting that happen. Last night there was a family gathering. My son had just had his therapy session, so we picked him up and drove there. While there, my son was telling me about something they talked about, and my brother-in-law must have overheard, because he started on a tangent about boys not needing therapy and calling him a girl. I probably wouldn't have reacted as much if my son hadn't been there, but my son was visibly hurt by what he was saying. I was pissed at him and told him to F off, and that right now my son is more of a man than he is. I would have liked to say more, but I didn't want to upset my son further. I admit that I might have gone a little too far, but I was defending my son. But I don't think someone who shames someone else for being healthy while also being sexist is being a man. My brother-in-law just glared at me and stormed out of the house. My wife told me that we were leaving, so I got my son and we left. My son didn't say much the rest of night, but my wife sure did. She was mad at me for doing that, and saying I disrespected her brother. I tried to explain I was just defending my son from him, but she wouldn't take it and is ignoring me. I'm still mad over this. My son was shamed for expressing his emotions, and then everyone gets mad at me for defending him. But all of their reactions are making me second guess myself and wondering if I'm the asshole. Am I the a-hole? Will I be the a-hole for revealing where my kids' college money came from? Hello. I am a single mother, 43, of 2 kids 18F and 14 meters. Their fathers are not in the picture. Recently I was contacted by my ex-brother-in-law, 40. He told me that when he was married to my sister, 38, he had started college funds for my kids. They separated, but he still wanted to give the money for my children. It's not full ride amount, but it will mean my daughter won't have to work during college unless she wants spending money, and it's more that me or my parents can give her. Obviously I was overjoyed at this. But I asked him not to tell anyone because my sister has grown quite bitter about their divorce. I'm not really sure what went down, but as far as I know they had separate finances, so I don't think it would be due to money reasons. When I told my family we had received a donation to my daughter's college fund, everyone was overjoyed. But also really suspicious, because there are times in the last few years that money would have really helped. Someone in my family started the joke that I got this from my boss for favors. It's not true, but my sister and brother won't let it go. Let's get takeout tonight. Hey, X, go sleep with your boss and get it. I'm not doing a good job of explaining it, but it's really quite hurtful to have my family saying these things, even as jokes. I'm considering telling them brother-in-law is the one behind it. It will stop them insisting on knowing the source, but it might hurt my sister to know he helped us. I can't really ask people for advice without it leaking out. I have only told one girl from work and she suggested here for some anonymous opinions. Am I the a-hole because I got my daughter an $80 dress? My family just got back from a week-long cruise, and there is still some tension about this. My wife and I took our 20-yo son, 16-yo daughter, 13-yo son and 7-yo son. Our oldest spent most of his time on vacation doing his own thing, having breakfast and dinner with the family but being seldom seen otherwise. My wife and I enjoyed spending time without kids, but we also did some couples activities. There are clubs on the boat for kids, and our 13-yo really enjoyed them, but our 7-yo didn't and kept wanting to spend the day with his sister, who we'd given carte blanche to do her own thing as long as she ate with us and answered when we messaged her. She was a good sport and took her little brother on most of her adventures, swimming with him, taking him to trivia and doing the animation classes with him. I felt like this was very sweet of her and showed a great deal of maturity. The second to last day of the cruise I took her to the gift shop and told her to pick out whatever she wanted as thanks for looking after her brother. She was very excited and ended up picking out a dress. The dress was $80. She wore it to dinner that night, and when she told her mom I bought it for her, my wife gave me a weird look. After dinner she asked me why the hell I did that. I explained that it was a reward for looking after her brother. She said we can't buy an $80 dress for our daughter and nothing for our sons. I said we didn't get them nothing, we took them on a cruise. My wife said I'm an idiot. I don't think so. We got some trinkets for the younger boys, about $20 worth of stuff. My wife thinks I fucked up and said I should apologize to the boys. I refuse. We took our adult son on a vacation that cost thousands of dollars. He has no reason to resent his sister being rewarded for being thoughtful. If we got our 7-yo and 13-yo a really expensive souvenir, it would probably be lost or broken. She still thinks I was an asshole though. Am I the a-hole for being rude to a woman who yelled at me for using the disabled toilet? I have an ileostomy. This means that I have had my colon removed and I have a stoma. This is on my stomach and it's where my poop comes out from into an attached bag. You usually can't see it and it doesn't look as though I have any kind of disability, although it is legally classed as a disability. To empty it I need to kneel by the toilet and I rinse it out with water. I fill a travel bottle up in the toilet and use this to rinse out the bag. Not rinsing is gross. Because of needing to kneel and have water on hand, I need to use the disabled toilets whenever I can. I have a radar key to get me into them. It was given to me after I had my surgery. Using a non-disabled toilet is very difficult. Hard to kneel, very little privacy and no sink on hand. Today I was at M&S and had to empty my bag, so use the disabled toilet as usual. FYI, almost all disabled toilets have signs on them that say not all disabilities are visible. When I tried to come out of the toilet my way was blocked by a woman who started to berate me for using the disabled toilet. Apparently she saw me go in and had been waiting for me to come out. She was stopping me from leaving and threatening to call the staff. I tried to tell her that I need to use the toilet and showed her my special radar key. She just kept getting angrier and angrier and louder. We had a crowd by this time. In desperation, I finally pulled up my shirt and slid my trousers down a bit and showed her my ileostomy bag. I pointed out the sign on the door that said not all disabilities are visible. I told her she was ignorant, needed to learn to mind her own business. I then told her to F off and get out of my way. Am I the a-hole for being so rude? I know I should have been nicer, but she would not stop blocking me in the toilet. Am I the a-hole for taking my fiancé's dinner after he touched mine? I'll be quick, my F26 fiancé M32 is blind. We don't disagree a lot, except, he always gets bothered whenever I eat different food from what he's eating when we go out. Like, if we're having dinner out and I order else, he'd instantly get upset and accuse me of treating him as less than when I just have different taste in foods. I just eat what he eats to keep the peace. I eat out alone as alternative, but since he clearly doesn't trust me, he'd randomly touch my plate to see if I'm having the same dish. This caused huge arguments between us and I told him to stop doing it and he said he would. We went out to eat nights ago, and I ordered the same dish he ordered. When the food arrived, he looked somewhat uncomfortable. I asked what was wrong and he refused to say, and before I could even grab the fork he extended his arm and his hand touched the food on my plate. He moved quickly and started excusing what he did, saying he just wanted to make sure. But I lost it on him. I felt so grossed out and there was no way I could eat the food after he touched it. He tried to get me to drop it, saying I shouldn't be grossed out by his hand, and that I overreacted, etc. But I grabbed his plate and told him that I was taking it as my dinner. He at first asked me to be rational and give the plate back, but I refused. An argument ensued and we had a fight. He then ended up leaving, started spam texting me accusing me of being bitter, pathetic and childish, and robbing his dinner. He went to stay with his friend who picked him up and his friend sided with him, saying I was in the wrong. Even went as far as to say that I was abusing my fiancé and financially controlling him when I pointed out that I was the one who paid for the food. The problem is magnified now with him wanting an apology and me refusing to give him one. My parents think I should have more patience and that this is just typical love spats between us, but I'm not sure. Was I the a-hole with how I handled this?